Hey, morning everyone. It's Justice for Comics. I haven't done one of these. I think I may have done one or two morning live streams, but it's definitely been a while. I just wanted to go over some of the Comichron numbers, um, some of the sales data. Uh, Comichron just dropped the March. I think it was I think it's either March or I believe it was April, actually. April sales data, but I'm going all the way back to January to see a few things that looked interesting on the Comichron data. So Comichron again is a site that tracks unit sales. I think they get the information from Diamond, so it's I don't know if it's exactly what is sold to the public, but it's what's distributed to comic book shops. It's basically what that data is. So I'm assuming it comes from Diamond. Pretty much, I think that's what it is. Diamond does feed them some information. So it gives you a good gauge as to what's selling, what publishers are doing well and which ones aren't, at least in the short term. So it's worthy to take a look at on occasion. So I haven't done one of these videos on comic book sales, mainly because lately there hasn't been really since basically March. So some of this data is January, February, some of March. So yeah, let's take a look at it. Let me share my screen here real quick. And boom. Okay, so this is let me get to the top of the screen here. Assuming this is all accurate, you can kind of pull, you can go all the way back. They got this back to what, 2000, 1990, 1997. Again, okay, so right here, this information does come from Diamond. By April 1997, one distributor handled the vast majority of comic sales to comic book shops. My analysis of orders retailers placed solely with Diamond comic distributors is hosted here. So pretty much, everyone orders through Diamond. Yes, there are other comic book publishers out there, but for the most part, 90% of what is in comic book shops or what gets in the hands of the public is distributed through Diamond. That may be all changing this year, mainly because Diamond shut down, wasn't going to distribute books, and it's potentially allowing other competitors to come into the market. One competitor is from Discount Buyers Comic Service, DBCS, I think it is, and then the other is from Midtown. So, yeah, there's some other competitors trying to enter the game. Long term that could be good. I don't know. I don't like having one point of failure. Everything coming through from Diamond is not good, because if Diamond decides we're not going to distribute comic books, everyone suffers. Whereas if you've got multiple lines open, multiple ways to distribute books, I think it's better for the comic book shops to have alternatives, ultimately. Maybe we'll lower pricing, it'll make things more competitive. I think it will force Diamond to get better at the things that they're not good at. And I think ultimately, long term, it's good. I think it's going to be good for the comic industry. So here on this page here, we've so far for 2020, we've got January, February, March, April, and here is the May numbers. So I kind of like to look at their commentary first to see what's going on here. It says in April 2020, during the pause in new comic book distribution caused by the coronavirus outbreak, DC Comics left its 25-year-old exclusive agreement with Diamond Comic Distributors. Beginning with a handful of releases the last week of April, DC began additionally selling through Lunar Distribution, a sister company to mail order firm DCBS, which is Digital Comic Book Service, and UCS Comic Distributors, a sister company to the retailer Midtown Comics. According to the initial announcement from DC, Lunar sold to the western part of North America and UCS the east, including all of the Gulf states and Texas. So here you got a little map. Let me blow this up a little bit. So here you got a little map. Midtown basically covers eastern part of Canada, all the way down to Florida, all the way to Texas. So pretty good swath of the United States, right? Very high population zones there, east coast to Florida, Texas. And then all the yellow, in yellow is Alaska, all, northern Canada, all the way down to the Midwest, New Mexico, California. So yeah, I could see why this makes sense to have this distribution. Though I don't know, Michigan's awfully damn close to Ohio. I don't know why Michigan wouldn't, and I don't know. There's a dividing line, right, between those two. So both firms were still developing their websites as of mid-May, but as of May 18th, UCS had added a bestsellers section, including sections for comic books, graphic novels, magazines, books, and promotional items. We're awaiting more information about what goes into these charts, but they appear to be simple top 10 lists without any indexed sales figures. So the data coming here on Comichron is most likely just Diamond. Doesn't sound like they've got a lot of data coming from UCS at this point. Says they appeared to reflect not shipped comics, but rather pre-orders or a mingling of pre-orders with shipped orders. This is apparent because both UCS's comic book and graphic novel charts as of May 18th, 2020, snapshot seen at left, include items that had not been shipped yet. All right, so they kind of have like a bestsellers list, top 10. I'll have to go over and look at their site. I haven't been on that yet. All comics distributor sales charts before 2003 were based on pre-orders, so that's nothing new, but it's always important to remember when comparing them. Further, while all charts are snapshots of sales at a certain point in time, UCS doesn't yet include information about what specific time frame is being measured in the rankings. All right. So I'm not going to read maybe all this, but here's an example. Items that did not ship in May do not appear in the graphic above, but we have not removed the non-May material, like the second place Dark Knight's Death Metal number 1, seen at the right from the charts below. Pre-order charts from back in the day long included items that would only come out later on, but our hope would be for a standardized end-of-month chart that has been customary from the most direct market distributors post-1984. If such a report becomes available, it will appear here. This is from John Jackson Miller. All right, so yeah, the month of May, it's just showing, here's their top 10 list from, I guess this is from UCS. Justice League number 1, number 2 is Dark Knight's Death Metal. Joker, Harley, Criminal Insanity number 3, Flash number 4, Justice League 45 is number 5. Deceased Unkillables number 3 is 6. Green Lantern season 2 number 3. Joker 80th is number 1 is 8th. So these are all DC books, right? Marvel's not been distributing because they have an exclusive contract with Diamond so far. So there is nothing but DC on this list. And there's sort of your top 10 ordered items so far through UCS, which is going to distribute basically to the Midwest all the way to California. So let's see here. What else we got? So they got graphic novels, trade paperbacks, kind of a top 10 list on trade paperbacks. That looks to be all DC again. Again, Marvel is not posting. So this May report is pretty much unimportant because there's no hard data, there's no numbers. It's just here's what's being distributed in the month of May from UCS. And it's basically all DC titles and the ranking on those titles. All right. Let me go back to the chat. BTC Moon Guy is here hanging out. I know there's only 4 of you guys right now watching this. We got JB. Welcome, my friend. So I'm kind of crunching some numbers here. So this May report, it's just basically saying, hey, we've got these 2 other distributors, and so far UCS has provided a top 10 ordered list, but there's no other sales data with it. There's no numbers on it. So the month of May is going to be just one of those lost months where, we're not going to have any, I don't think we're going to have any sales figures on that stuff. So May is sort of incomplete. April, again, April, we have a kind of a ranking based on orders. Looks to be DC is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the top 10 are DC books. Marvel owns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 6 out of the top 10. So Marvel has a couple more over DC in that top 10 list. But we don't really have any. There's no numbers here, right? So again, month of April is really not a complete list because most comic books were not being distributed in the month of April. So these are just advance orders. This is a ranking of advance orders. Obviously, Batman number 90, I would imagine that would be the hot, second printing. That is the number 1 book ordered. Number 2 is Batman 92, the Artgerm variant. Absolutely, they promoted the crap out of that. I absolutely expect that to be, I think when the numbers finally come out on that, it's going to be well over 100,000. Wolverine number 2, that's probably going to be at least 80,000, 70 to 80,000. Hellions number 1 is number 4. Probably going to be north of 70,000 again. Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 2, I would put that at least, 50,000 or more. X-Men Fantastic Four number 3. I'm kind of surprised that's number 6. I wouldn't guess that to be a high number. It's issue 3 of a miniseries. I don't know. A little surprised by that. Immortal Hulk 33, the Bennett variant, is the 7th spot. In number 8, Immortal Hulk 33 regular cover. So a lot of people are buying Immortal Hulk. You would expect Venom to be maybe near. Venom is not anywhere near the top 10 in advanced orders. What do you got to go all the way? Not in the top 25. Amazing. Thor is there. Thor's second print, 17th spot. You got this Once and Future trade paperback. That's in the 12th spot. That's pretty good. Yeah, so I don't know. Don't know how accurate this is anyways, but I think Batman 90 and 92, yeah, I think those are definitely going to be the highest or advanced orders for sure. A lot of stores ordered heavy on that. Month of March, again, mentioning the COVID. It says the month of March saw commercial impact of the COVID-19 outbreak beginning in North America. By mid-month, spring conventions had been called off, and many businesses were either having to close or cut hours to slow the spread. Retailers ordered 37.03 million in comics, graphic novels, and magazines from Diamond during the month, almost exactly what they bought in February. The total was 15% lower than March of 2019, which was fueled by Detective Comics 1000, the best-selling comic book of the decade. All right, that kind of makes sense. So last year, there was a 15% increase, basically because of Detective Comics 1000, which I didn't know that. Second best-selling comic book of the decade. I wonder what would the best-selling comic book of the decade be? I don't know. Would love to hear you guys your opinion on that. What you think would be the best-selling comic book of the decade? So what, 2010 to 2020? Would it be Action Comics 1000? That might be it, right? I'm trying to think what could be in the high 250,000 or more unit sales. It's got to be at least that much. Maybe 300,000. I don't know. Yeah, it's anyone's guess. I'd like to. I don't know if Comichron gives that information. I'll have to look for it. I'm gonna guess it's either Action Comics 1000, because I know that was a pretty big book. I'm trying to think what else would be. It came out in the last 10 years that would have a huge amount of sales. Maybe Star Wars. It's got to be Star Wars. Star Wars when they relaunched it with Marvel. I think the print run was like 1 million on that. It's got to be Star Wars. I don't know. I'm going to guess Star Wars was the biggest selling book of the decade. Star Wars #1 that was relaunched in, what was that, 2010? Yeah, maybe that is included in the decade. I don't know. Did that come out in 2010 or 2009? The John Cassidy run? I'm going to guess Star Wars is the #1 spot, and then #2 Detective 1000, and then Action Comics probably is #3 as far as best-selling books of the decade. If I had to guess, that would be my guess. Now that I've had time to think about it. Let's read on. It says, initial orders for March were placed before the pandemic restrictions began, and as often happens with shipping schedules in the transition from winter to spring, a majority of the new releases were slated for later weeks in the month. Week 4, in fact, had the largest new comic book slate in the year to that point, but retailers adjusted their orders as the situation worsened and reorder traffic dwindled. Publishers responded as the month progressed, with Image announcing on March 17th that its future off, and Marvel offering deep discounts on comic shipping as of March 18th. Diamond, which had already postponed its 2020 Free Comic Book Day, suspended its Wednesday street date and allowed shops to sell comics on the 17th, a Tuesday. Some shuttered stores turned to mail order, others to curbside pickup. Yep, I remember that very well. A lot of stores did go curbside on that date. So that was really your last, that middle of March, right around the 18th, I guess. Yep. Finally, with much of the supply chain necessary to a multi-million copy business impacted and its own warehouses in New York, Pennsylvania, and California already closed, Diamond announced on the 23rd that no items. All right, waiting for that truck to pass. There we go. All right. Diamond announced on the 23rd that no items with an on-sale date of April 1st or later would be shipped until further notice. That notice was given in April, targeting resumption of service for May 20th. The final week of March saw 127 new comic books debuting, again with the largest number for any week in 2020 to that point. But average sales on those issues were 15% lower than the corresponding week in February, and relatively few stores were open to sell them. So there's your recap, basically, of the month of March. #1 book was Spider-Woman #1, orders topping 142,000 copies. Batman 91 was in second place, and Batman 90 was in third. Let me go back down here a little bit further. Yeah, so here's your data for the month of March. We've got Spider-Woman. This is, of course, this is all mostly through the last date of the 18th. So it's not going to include the very last week of March, but just through the 18th. That was the cutoff. Spider-Woman just made the cutoff, 142,000 units. Batman, number 91, we're at 108. These are 88,000. These are estimates, of course, 88,000 units. Batman, 90 at 87,000. Flash 750, that's a big number, right? That was a kind of an anniversary number at 82,000. That's a big number for Flash. I don't think Flash has been anywhere near. I don't think it's. I'll have to look at the prior month, but Flash has been selling around, I think, below 50,000 per month. So that's a pretty good pickup for Flash. Thor, number 20. Number 4 rather. I'm sorry, at 75,000. X-Men number 8 at 75,000. X-Men's still selling pretty well. I mean, issue 8 still at 75,000 units. That's pretty good. Again, that's the momentum behind that Hickman House of X and Powers of X run. Wolverine issue 2 at 74,000. Strange Academy number 1. Issue number 1. That's still pretty low for an issue number 1 for Marvel, but at 71,000. X-Men number 9 at 70,000. Immortal Hulk 33 at 68,000. Star Wars Bounty Hunters at 61,000. Respectable number. Robin, 80th anniversary at 60,000. Strange Adventures. So, DC and Marvel, top 20, back and forth. Definitely more Marvel, it seems, than DC in that top 20 list. Finally, at 21 is Decorum, which is a Hickman Huddleston collaboration. First issue at 47,000. That's a pretty respectable number for an Image book. Usually, if an Image book is above 30,000, that's pretty good. So Decorum had a good start. That's a pretty good start for that issue. And a lot, again, Hickman's, popular with a lot of comic book buyers because of what he did with the X-Men. He did a great job with that series. Another Image title, Mercy number 1. That's a pretty good number for that book, 46,000. Notice Venom is at the 27th spot. That's pretty bad for Venom. I would expect that book to be in the top 10 at least, with Donny Cates writing it, but I tell you, it was doing really, really well until that War of the Realms. That War of the Realms really shot out the momentum behind Venom. So Venom was doing really well until that War of the Realms, which I think started in issue 10. Issue 10. So issue 24, not the greatest numbers. I would expect 25 to have a big jump. 24 is at 43,000. I would bet Venom 25 is going to be 75,000. Easy. I think it'll be that high. Because I think a lot of people realize something special is going to happen in that issue. Cates has been promoting the hell out of it. Marvel's been promoting it. So I think you're going to see a bigger number on issue 25. Make sure I'm still streaming. And we got Manny. What's going on, Manny? All right, I got a few of you watching me. We're up to 9 watchers. That's good. Kind of running through the data here. This is the month of March. Marvel DC. So mostly Marvel DC. There's only been two Image books in the top 30. Again, independents are not faring well lately. I think this is going to be a rough year for independents. At the 45th spot is Spawn number 306, so that's still doing okay for Spawn. Hold on one second, guys. I'll be right back. right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Again, so we're up through the 45th spot, and there's only 3 independent books, 3 image books. Finally, at the 53rd spot, you've got a Boom Studios comic book, Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4 at 30,000 units. Let's see, where else we got here? Yeah, man, that's sad. Captain America is 63rd on the list. That's pretty bad. I would love to see Marvel really do something with Cap. I mean, they've got a great cover artist. They got Alex Ross doing unbelievable covers, but the writing is just subpar. It's just not good. I mean, that's sad. Captain America is one of the flagship. I would say he's one of the top 5 flagship characters for Marvel. And for him to be at 63 at 26,000 units, that's terrible. It's terrible. Man, I don't know. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's Undiscovered Countries, 77 on the list. That is definitely not doing well. And on issue 5, down to 22,000 units. I mean, you got Scott Snyder behind that, and it's still only selling 22,000. That's pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, you're below 20,000 units. I don't even know if you're breaking even, especially for these larger publishers. They're probably, I would think your break even would be 25,000 units or more. So anything below that, especially from Marvel and DC, they're definitely not. They're probably losing money on those titles. Independents can make money. I mean, I think most independents, if you're selling more than 5 to 10,000, you can probably make money on that. But these, for the big boys, yeah, I would say if you're below 20,000 units, you're losing money for sure. So how long they keep you, like Lois Lane for DC, 17,000 units. Aquaman, I mean, they keep Aquaman going. It's been doing terrible lately. I don't know. Firefly for Boom Studios, 15,000 units. Once in the Future. Yeah, Once in the Future is a great book. I'm surprised it's that low. That's a book that should do better. 15,000 units, really low. I would expect that to do a little bit better. I would expect at least 25,000 on that book. That's a good book. Let's see what else. Yeah, now we're you get below 10,000 units. It's like, yeah, why even make the book? I mean, good news for Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen. Only 11,000 copies of that book. Again, this is a major key book. First full appearance of Punchline. I still think that book is massively undervalued. I mean, I think you can buy it right now. In fact, that's a good idea. I haven't checked that in a little while. What is the last recorded sale of Year of the Villain? Hell Arisen #3. Looks like there's a buy it now for $35 plus $5 shipping. So basically $40. Let me just see what the last sales of that book. 9.8 was asking 112. Looks like they took an offer lower. Second print's $10. Last sale was $10. Yeah, so last 2 sales were on May 21st and May 20th. Buy it now for $38, sold plus $6 shipping, so you're looking at $42. And another sale at $33. Buy it now with $4 shipping, so just under $40. Yeah, so I would say 35 to 40, which I think is undervalued. I think that's going to be a $50 to $60 book at some point, maybe in a year or two. $100 price point, $80 to $100 price point for that book. I could see that. Boondocks, what's going on, my friend? He's in his FedEx truck. Man, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you listening to my live stream while you're working. That's great. Get those comic books delivered. Everyone's waiting on them. I think what I get deliveries, UPS sometimes delivers my books. Most of the time, though, it's post office. I don't think I've gotten FedExes too often on, I think if I've bought it, maybe 1 or 2 times I've gotten them. If I got a slab or something, they would send it FedEx. Either that or U.S. post office priority. But yeah, appreciate you working hard out there, man. You're on the front lines. It's not the easiest job to be doing right now, for sure. Especially if you're worried about catching something. I know most of the guys I see running around here on the trucks, they got the, what's that mask called? It's got the little breathing, I don't know, like there's a name for it. Not just a typical generic surgeon's mask, but it's got like a little breathing apparatus, so you can at least breathe through a little bit clearer. So appreciate you doing that for everyone. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's your month of March comic book sales. One of the books that I thought was interesting, that I noticed, was really, really low print run, and I think it's a great book. And for some reason, I couldn't find too many copies of issue number 2. Was a book by IDW called Kill Lock. So another thing you can do when you're on this, like this is January sales unit figures. Notice Wonder Woman 750 at 167,000 units. Thor #1 at 158,000. Star Wars at 97,000. But you click on publisher, and then it will organize it by publisher, so you can real quickly go, I want to look at some IDW books and see how they've been doing. So like I wanted to see how Kill Lock, what the sales were for Kill Lock. So if I go down to IDW, computer's a little slow here. There we go. Okay, IDW. So IDW's #1 selling book in the month of January was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #101 at 20,000 units, #102 at 13,000, Transformers at 9,600, another Transformers book at 9,400, Star Trek Picard #3 at 8,800, Dying is Easy, I'm not familiar with that book, at 8,400, G.I. Joe at 8,100, My Little Pony at 6,700, Star Wars Adventures at 6,300, G.I. Joe. But man, you get below 5,000, it's a really low print run. So Kill Lock #2, notice at 3,229. That's a pretty low number. I think that book is going to be really good. It's beautifully illustrated. I mean, if you guys haven't been checking out Kill Lock, I think it's a 5-issue miniseries. So issue 5 will be coming out pretty soon, and that will end the series. As far as I know, I don't know if they'll do a volume 2 or not, but the artist and writer is a guy named Livio Ramondelli. I've mentioned him on my channel before. I've gone to his Instagram. You can see his artwork. He is amazing, amazing artist. He's just draws beautifully. And that Kill Lock series is really, really good. It's a fantastic story. It's about these groups of this group of robots that basically they've all done something wrong, and instead of terminating them, I don't know why they just wouldn't terminate them. It's the only thing I don't get. Robots are fairly disposable, but this is robots that all have AI, so maybe there's some compassion. I don't know. So these robots get branded with a mark, the Kill Lock mark, and basically they all have this mark. It identifies them that they're if one of them dies, so there's what, 4 or 5 of them in the group. If one of them is terminated, the rest of them all die immediately. So basically, they've got to work together. They got to keep themselves alive. And then one of the members, one of the robots in their group, is sort of an innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. He was just incomplete. So they kind of like band together, like, yeah, we got to stay alive for this other robot who really didn't do anything. The rest of them, they've all done things that they shouldn't have, apparently. But it's just a really cool concept. I like the storyline. The artwork is just gorgeous. And I noticed issue number 2 didn't have any for sale on eBay the other day. And I found that odd. Like, you could buy, there were several listings of issue number 3. There were several listings of issue 4, multiple listings of the first issue. But there were no listings of number 2 for sale. Not even a run. Like, I was looking, well, maybe you can buy it in the run. Maybe someone's selling 1 through 4. Now, I think what will happen is once the 5th issue drops, you'll see people list that set. You know, they'll list it as a complete set for sale. So I think you'll see more come available once that 5th issue drops. But issue number 2, the sales are at $32.29. That's pretty low. Issue 3 and 4 are lower and lower. I think issue 4 was like $2,800, and issue 3 was at $2,800, and then issue 4 was like $2,500. So, you know, every issue, the print run is going lower. What I should check and see is what issue number 1 sold for. So that would be December 2019. I got to imagine it's at least a 10,000 print run for that first issue. Normally, first issues are going to have a little bit bigger print run. Let's see what the number is on that for the first issue. So I kind of like to do this. You know, it's like doing some forensic. I don't know. I think issue 2 is a low enough print run, and it doesn't seem to be readily available. I don't know. At least not on eBay. And I went on My Comic Shop. I went on Midtown. You know, I went to several of the online retailers where you normally would buy back issues, and sold out. So it makes me think that just could go up in value because, again, issue number 1, the first issue was $58.63. So there's more than a 2,000 unit drop off from issue number 1 to 2, and that's kind of typical. Sometimes issue 2 of a comic book will be worth sometimes more than issue number 1 just because the print run drops off so much. And I don't know if that kill lock gets optioned. I mean, I totally see that comic book getting picked up by a Netflix or some streaming service, and it would be an animated. It's not going to be live action. I think it would cost too much. It would just be cheaper to do like an animation series through Netflix or Hulu or one of Disney. I don't think Disney wouldn't do it, but yeah, Netflix, Hulu, one of those streaming services. I could see them picking that up. It's a good story. I think it would do really well as an animation miniseries. So I don't know if that gets optioned. I would expect, these are low print run books. They're beautiful. I think a lot of people want to keep them in their collection. That's why you're not seeing as many for sale on eBay. I think the print run's low enough that the people that want to sell it, just maybe they weren't into it and they just want to sell it. But I think there's a lot of people holding those in their collection. So issue number 2 could be one of those books that, we wake up one morning and, option news comes out and, all of a sudden everyone's trying to look for those books. And issue 2 could be one of those things that blows up in value just because the print run drops so much and a lot of people didn't pick up the second issue. A lot of people will pick up a first issue to see if they like it, and then they just forget to buy number 2, issue number 2. So I don't know. That's just a little theory of mine. I think that second issue of Kill Lock eventually could be a hot book, especially if there's any option news that comes out. So if you can find it for cover price, I would try to pick it up. Kill Lock #2. I find it interesting that it's sold out at most of the online retailers. So yeah, if you can track that puppy down, that might be worth buying. And I would try to get it for cover price if you can. If you can't find it for cover, obviously that's another story. But yeah, so that's one of my recommendations, is that Kill Lock series. Definitely, if you don't want to buy the floppies, wait till it comes out in trade. I think it's just really good story, really good artwork. Highly recommend it. All right, so I just wanted to do a little morning show. I got some work to do here in a little bit, so I need to get back to work, but figured I'd jump on and give you guys some information on Comichron, some of the stuff that's coming out. I think the next few months will be interesting to see. Are the unit sales? I would imagine there's going to be a drop off. A lot of people that pre-order books will probably cancel. That's the problem with not having comic books for a couple months. It doesn't take long for people to just be disinterested and drop out of a habit. That going into the comic book shop every week for the casual comic book buyer. They don't do it for a couple months. They moved on to something else. So that's the problem that could plague the comic book shops for a while, is simple fact that people have sort of, got out of the habit of buying comic books. And you also don't have a lot of big Marvel movies coming out anytime soon that kind of fuel people coming into comic book shops. I mean, what's the next one going to be? Black Widow? August, November? I don't know. August, September, maybe. We're still several months away from a major comic book movie, which I think this year the two big movies are going to be Wonder Woman and Black Widow. I'm trying to think what else. What else is going to drive a lot of interest in comic books? Those are the only two movies I can think of. Venom got pushed to next year. Yeah, there really isn't any major comic book movies coming out through the rest of the year, other than Wonder Woman 1984 and Black Widow. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's the comic book industry is going to be definitely hurting for a little while. It's definitely not going to die. There's a lot of people that are quick to say that, the death of the comic book industry, it's never going to die. People are always going to be interested in this medium, and they're not going to be interested in buying digital. There's enough 30 to 40-year-olds that remember buying comic book shops, at bookstores and 7-Elevens, where we want to have it in our hand, smell it, sniff it, whatever. We want tangible. Digital will work for a certain segment of the comic book buying market, but it's a small segment. I would say less than 10%. Most people want to physically own the book, because you think about it, digital is never really going to be worth money because there's no degradation, right? The only reason something is worth money is because of the limited supply and degradation of time. So Action Comics #1 is the perfect example. When that came out in 1938, I think it was 1938. I think that's when it came out, 38 or 39. There was 1 million of those produced. So Action Comics #1, million print run, right? There's almost no comic book today that gets 1 million print run. But comic books back then were disposable. People did not collect them. A kid read it, and literally it went into the trash, or it sat on a pile until the child's mother got fed up with the mess and would take all the comic books and throw them in the garbage. So, and then definitely what hurt the supply of comic books from that era was World War II. You had paper runs where, everyone would collect paper for recycling. Everyone would collect metal and scrap metal and all these things to support the war effort. So a lot of comic books were recycled. I mean, can you imagine talking to somebody that worked at a recycling plant back in the 40s, and they could sit there and tell you, oh yeah, I remember all these comic books being thrown into whatever, the incinerator or into the recycling bin. And that would just, it's amazing. But that's what happened. That's why today there's 50 copies of Action Comics #1 in existence. Out of 1 million originally printed in 1938, there's 50 today that only exist, right? And there's, out of that 50, there's what, maybe a dozen that are considered high grade, maybe a dozen. So that's why that book is so expensive. And I don't think you're ever going to see that. You know, the modern book, if you bought a book 10 years ago, 20 years ago, yes, there's going to be less of them today than there were 20 years ago. Just the point of time, right? People throw things out. You know, you will see a reduction in supply over time, but it takes a long time, man. It takes a really long time to dwindle supply. But when you got a comic book like Killock, where there's only 3,000 printed, you know, how many are going to be in existence 20 years from now, 30 years from now? That could be really interesting, right? The print run was so damn low on that book. And I'm not saying Killock is going to be some marquee character that people are going to care about 20, 30 years from now. I'm not saying that at all. But that's the kind of thing that could happen, right? You could have some character that comes out, that independent character, and the print run is super low. And then 30 years from now, there's only 100 of those books in existence, 50 of those books in existence, and there's high demand. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're buying modern comic books. So many people today say, oh, modern comic books will never be worth anything. Well, that's not necessarily true. I don't agree with that. I think there will be circumstances where modern books will be worth money, but no doubt about it. Today, people collect and hold their books. They're put into nice Mylars and kept in really nice condition, right? Back in the 30s and 40s, no one really had the mind to do that. That's why there's so few high-grade copies in existence today. But that's the other problem too. Grown Up Gamer says, yeah, someone has thousands in storage place. Yeah, storage is a major problem. I mean, I'm up to 7,000 comic books, and we're getting to the point now where I'm having storage capacity issues in the place. I really don't want to start renting storage unit to store my comic books. I really don't want to do that. So I either need to reduce my collection, sell off some stuff that I really don't want, or buy less going forward, right? There's pretty much only two decisions to do there. But yeah, so that's it, guys. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about and go over, just what the sales are here recently. Cardstock variant, yeah, Snyder Cut. I definitely want to watch that when that comes out. I don't know if that's coming out on a particular streaming platform or not. I would imagine DC Universe would stream that. It makes sense that they would come out with it on streaming. So that might drive a lot of people to sign up for DC Universe for sure. So I just want to recognize everybody in the chat. Grown Up Gamer, thanks for hanging out with us. Cardstock variant, of course. Manny the Comic Collector, my good friend Manny. He's hunting down that Killock too. That's on his list. Awesome. Yeah, see if you can find it. I think your best shot is to go to these local comic book shops, and it might be sitting on the shelf. If it is, I would try to grab one. I think that's a good one to grab. The Sula stuff, thanks for joining us. Mike Rogers, of course. Thanks, Mike, for hanging out. Perry's Comics, my good friend Perry. He's down in Brandon. He's not too far down the road from me. Boondocks 90, thanks for joining us. And we've got JB, Mike Sanchez, and BTC Moon Guy. Thanks for BTC Moon Guy. Always hangs out in our chats. All right, guys. I'll do a video later today of the Hot 10 comic list. So look for that in the evening. I'll jump on probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'll jump on and do a review of that list. So be ready for that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys later this afternoon.